The Israeli military has expanded operations across the occupied West Bank, with the northern city of Qalqilya becoming the latest focal point of intensified raids and security deployments. On December 4th, Israeli forces carried out a series of street-level patrols, detentions, and property searches as part of what the army describes as ongoing action targeting armed Palestinian groups. The operation comes at a time of heightened tension across the territory, where military incursions have increased in frequency and scale throughout 2025. In Qalqilya, heavily armed units were seen moving through residential neighborhoods, positioning themselves at strategic points and conducting door-to-door operations. Soldiers were observed escorting blindfolded and handcuffed detainees, while armored vehicles moved through the streets to secure surrounding areas. The activity reflected a pattern that residents say has become increasingly routine, marked by early morning incursions, road closures, and physical searches of homes and businesses. Footage from the scene shows multiple Israeli patrols sweeping through narrow streets, stopping at alleys and courtyards, and coordinating movements between troops stationed at different intersections. In several instances, soldiers attempted to force open doors and break locks to access private properties, actions consistent with search operations aimed at locating weapons, suspects, or intelligence materials. The movements formed part of a broader military posture that Israeli commanders say is necessary to prevent attacks and dismantle local networks associated with armed groups. For residents, however, the operations have added to the sense of daily pressure under occupation, especially in towns where military presence is both sustained and unpredictable. Qalqilya, a city enclosed on multiple sides by the separation barrier, has experienced repeated overnight and early morning raids in recent months. These operations often involve the temporary detention of residents, extensive searches, and street closures that disrupt movement across the city. Amid the latest deployment, a local resident, Abu Nimr al-Abra, described the environment as one in which raids have become part of everyday life. Speaking from the scene, he explained that the frequency and duration of operations have increased noticeably. In his words, this happens every day, Israeli raids, but this time it lasted longer. Every day, when I go to dawn prayer, I find them Israeli soldiers right in my face. They don't distinguish between good and bad or old and young. Everyone is treated the same. His account aligns with reports from other communities in the northern West Bank, where residents say military incursions have extended deeper into civilian areas, often involving measures such as property searches, detentions, and street-level questioning. These operations are described by the Israeli military as preventive actions designed to locate suspects believed to be connected to armed groups operating in the region. During the Qalqilya operation, soldiers were also seen attempting to breach private gates and locked entrances. The actions suggest an effort to gain access to multiple compounds in quick succession, likely as part of a coordinated search. Armored vehicles move closely behind infantry units to reinforce positions and maintain control of the area during searches. In his second statement, Abu Nimr al-Abra expressed concern about how residents, particularly elderly individuals, experience these encounters. He stated, "Provocation and humiliation, that is their policy. I tell them I am elderly, but they make no distinction between old and young. Everyone is treated the same. They tell me, raise your hands and spread your legs. Then they beat and humiliate." These remarks reflect long-standing grievances among Palestinians in the West Bank regarding the impact of military operations on everyday life. Human rights organizations have previously noted similar accounts describing physical searches, temporary detentions, and confrontations during raids. The statements also highlight a disconnect between military objectives stated by Israeli authorities and the daily experiences reported by residents. The Israeli army has said it launched a new phase of operations on November 26th, intensifying its campaign against what it describes as armed militant infrastructure across the West Bank. According to official statements, the operations aim to prevent attacks, disrupt weapons smuggling, and detain individuals believed to be connected to coordinated violence. The military maintains that these actions are part of ongoing security efforts necessary to prevent regional escalation. The broader context includes a rise in confrontations between Israeli forces and armed groups across several West Bank cities, including Jenin, Tulkarem, Nablus, and Hebron. Israeli officials have argued that armed networks in these areas have grown more organized, prompting increased raids and expanded intelligence-gathering operations. As part of these efforts, troops frequently enter cities before dawn, impose temporary closures, and conduct widespread searches of houses, vehicles, and public spaces. In Qalqilya, the deployment on December 4th appeared to follow this pattern. Troops patrolled streets repeatedly, monitored access routes, and staged near residential buildings and commercial areas. They moved in coordinated formations, signaling persistent caution and the expectation of potential resistance from within the area. No active clashes were documented in the footage tied to this particular operation, but the intensity of the deployment suggested a significant security objective. At multiple points, soldiers escorted detained individuals away from the scene. These detainees were blindfolded and restrained, indicating that they were being taken for interrogation or further screening. Israeli forces often use this procedure during large-scale raids to separate individuals believed to be connected to security investigations from the wider population. For residents, the visible presence of armored vehicles navigating narrow streets added to concerns about the long-term effects of such operations on daily routines. Vehicles used in these missions typically provide logistical support, serve as protective transport for troops, and secure perimeters during searches. Their presence often signals the scale or seriousness of the mission, given their deployment outside routine patrols. While Israeli authorities have stated that the current campaign is directed solely at armed groups, residents interviewed in various cities across the West Bank argue that the operations frequently affect large segments of the civilian population. Many report experiencing physical searches, movement restrictions, and property damage during raids. In Qalqilya, the actions described by Al-Abra underscore the tension between military tactics and the community's concerns about treatment and safety. The latest operation also comes amid broader regional developments, including continued instability across the West Bank following the Gaza conflict and increasing clashes in several northern cities. Israeli forces have argued that West Bank networks have gained operational capabilities and that raids are necessary to disrupt planned attacks. Palestinian authorities, however, describe the operations as collective punishment affecting civilians not involved in militant activity. During the December 4th deployment, soldiers positioned themselves near key city access points and used a coordinated approach to secure different zones. They patrolled repeatedly through the same streets, reinforcing a mobile perimeter as they moved through densely built residential and commercial areas. The footage captured multiple units rotating through these positions, suggesting a sustained operation over several hours. The actions of attempting to force open doors and break gate locks indicated that troops were conducting targeted searches, though specific objectives were not publicly disclosed. Israeli forces often carry out such measures when they believe that a property may contain suspects or materials relevant to security investigations. These actions have been a consistent feature of recent raids across the territory. Residents of Qalqilya say the routine nature of these operations has created a sense of unpredictability, with many reporting that military patrols appear at different times of day and night without prior warning. The repeated encounters, such as those described by Al-Abra during dawn prayers, reflect a pattern in which civilians regularly cross paths with soldiers, even outside designated curfew or closure periods. Israeli authorities did not provide detailed information about arrests, seized materials, or the specific objectives of the Qalqilya raid. However, the reference to a broader campaign against armed groups suggests that the operation was part of a multi-city effort to target individuals believed to be involved in planning or facilitating attacks. Within Qalqilya, the operation left streets largely controlled by military forces during the period of the raid. Troops monitored the movement of pedestrians and vehicles and maintained visual control over major intersections. As the operation progressed, soldiers continued to enter additional streets and alleyways, broadening the footprint of the mission. Statements from residents such as Al Abra point to ongoing strain between communities and military units, particularly regarding treatment during searches and detentions. His description that soldiers don't distinguish between good and bad or old and young echoes concerns raised by local organizations about the impact of indiscriminate procedures during raids. The day's events in Qalqilya illustrate the conditions under which many West Bank towns now operate, marked by recurring military incursions, security checkpoints, and unpredictable enforcement actions. These operations have become a defining feature of the area's security landscape, shaping movement, commerce, and daily life for tens of thousands of residents. Israeli officials continue to emphasize the necessity of these actions, the problem arguing that without regular raids, armed groups would expand their reach and increase their operational capabilities. Palestinian residents, meanwhile, highlight the cumulative impact of such measures on social stability, economic activity, and community well-being. As the Israeli military maintains its expanded operations across the West Bank, the situation in Qalqilya reflects the broader reality facing many Palestinian cities. Patrols, detentions, property searches, and intensive street deployments remain central elements of the security environment, with residents reporting frequent confrontations and heightened restrictions. The latest raid underscores the persistent friction between security imperatives stated by Israeli authorities and the daily experiences reported by Palestinians living under occupation. The operation in Qalqilya forms part of a continuing pattern of enforcement activity that shows no immediate sign of decreasing as tensions across the West Bank remain elevated. This remains the situation as Israeli forces continue operations across the occupied West Bank and residents report the ongoing impact of daily raids.